The placement of Neptune in the ninth house of a natal chart is a profound signature of the spiritual seeker. Here, the planet of dreams, illusions, and transcendence dissolves the boundaries of the house of higher learning, philosophy, and long-distance travel. When these two forces merge, the result is an individual whose mind is less a structured library and more a vast, mist-covered ocean. The quest for ultimate truth. For those with Neptune in the ninth house, the pursuit of knowledge is rarely about cold facts or academic prestige. Instead, it is a visceral hunger for a universal truth. There is a deep-seated intuition that the physical world is merely a veil, and the ninth house Neptune individual spends their life trying to peek behind it. This often manifests as an interest in mysticism, esoteric philosophies, or unconventional spirituality. Unlike the ninth house Jupiter person, who might find comfort in the structure of organized religion, the Neptune placement seeks a direct, ego-dissolving connection with the divine. They don't want to read about God, they want to experience the oneness of the cosmos. The scholar of the subconscious. In a traditional academic setting, this placement can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it grants a brilliant, imaginative intellect capable of grasping abstract concepts that leave others baffled. These individuals are often naturally gifted in the arts, humanities, and comparative mythology. On the other hand, the fog of Neptune can make the rigors of formal education, deadlines, citations, and linear logic feel soul-crushing. The mind tends to wander toward the poetic rather than the practical. This is the student who forgets their notebook but can explain the metaphysical implications of a poem with startling clarity. The mystical traveler. The ninth house governs long-distance travel, and with Neptune here, journeys are often undertaken as pilgrimages. Travel is not about sightseeing, it is about soul-searching. There is often a romanticized view of foreign lands. These individuals may feel a strange, karmic pull towards specific cultures or distant shores, sometimes feeling more at home in a foreign country than in their place of birth. However, there is a risk of projection. They may travel to a sacred location expecting a life-changing epiphany, only to find that they have brought their own illusions with them. At its best, this placement allows for a beautiful dissolution of cultural barriers, fostering a truly global, compassionate perspective. The shadows, fanaticism and disillusionment. Neptune's influence is never without its pitfalls. In the ninth house, the greatest danger is the loss of discernment. Because the desire for a higher power is so strong, these individuals can be susceptible to charismatic but deceptive gurus or fringe cults. The boundary between divine inspiration and delusion can become dangerously thin. There is also the potential for significant disillusionment. If an individual pins their entire identity on a specific belief system or a philosophical idol, the inevitable discovery of human flaws in those systems can lead to a crushing crisis of faith. They must learn that truth is a fluid, evolving experience rather than a static destination. Synthesis, the compassionate visionary. Ultimately, Neptune in the ninth house calls for the integration of the ideal with the real. When the individual learns to anchor their vast imagination with a bit of earthly discernment, they become the true visionaries of the zodiac. They possess an innate ability to inspire others, acting as a bridge between the mundane world and the spiritual realms. Their gift is the realization that while we may speak different languages and follow different paths, the ocean we are all swimming in is the same. Their life's work is not to find a single answer, but to remain comfortably and beautifully lost in the right questions. When Neptune in the ninth house filters through the 12 signs, the flavor of the spiritual quest shifts. Here is a brief look at how this placement manifests across the zodiac. Aries, the search for truth is a crusade. These individuals are spiritual pioneers who may impulsively dive into new belief systems, seeking a direct, fiery experience of the divine. Taurus, spirituality is found in the physical world. They seek the sacred in nature, art, and the senses, often holding very stable, albeit idealistic, philosophical values. Gemini, the divine is found in language and ideas. They may drift between many different philosophies, finding it difficult to settle on one truth because they see the magic in all of them. Cancer, faith is deeply tied to emotion and heritage. They seek a philosophy that feels like home and may have highly intuitive, almost psychic, dreams regarding their travels. Leo, the spiritual path is creative and dramatic. They may seek to be a shining light or a visionary leader, finding God through self-expression and the heart. Virgo, this is a complex mix of the mystical and the analytical. They try to organize the infinite, often finding spirituality through acts of service or the study of sacred geometry. Libra, truth is found in beauty and human connection. They seek a balanced, harmonious philosophy and often view their relationships as a primary path to spiritual growth. Scorpio, a deeply transformative placement. They aren't afraid of the dark side of spirituality, seeking truth through rebirth, occult studies, or intense psychological exploration. Sagittarius, Neptune is at home here, as the co-ruler of the ninth. This creates the ultimate wanderer, someone with boundless faith who views life as one continuous, mystical journey. Capricorn, they seek to manifest their visions into reality. While Neptune is dreamy, Capricorn provides the structure to build a tangible legacy based on spiritual or ethical principles. Aquarius, the universal truth is focused on humanity as a whole. They are the idealists of the future, often drawn to progressive, scientific, or utopian social philosophies. Pisces, the most potent placement. The boundaries of the mind are completely dissolved. These individuals are often true mystics who experience the world as a seamless, spiritual tapestry. The transit of Neptune through the ninth house is a long-form odyssey of the soul, typically lasting about 14 years. Because Neptune moves so slowly, this transit doesn't just change your mind, it dissolves your existing framework of reality and slowly replaces it with something more ethereal, porous, and universal. It is a period defined by the softening of dogmas and the quest for a higher truth that transcends logic. The dissolution of old beliefs. The most significant hallmark of this transit is the gradual fading out of previous certainties. If you entered this period with rigid religious views, strict political leanings, or a purely materialistic worldview, Neptune begins to introduce leaks in those structures. You may find that the answers that once satisfied you now feel hollow or incomplete. This is not a sudden crisis of faith, which is more typical of a Uranus transit, but rather a slow-motion erosion. You might find yourself wandering into bookstores, clicking on documentaries, or engaging in late-night conversations about topics you once dismissed as woo-woo or irrelevant. The ninth house is the house of the superconscious mind, and Neptune's arrival here is like a thick mist rolling into a library. The hard edges of the books disappear, and you are left with the essence of the stories they contain. The mirage of the guru. During this transit, the hunger for meaning is so intense that there is a high risk of spiritual projection. You are essentially looking for a lighthouse in the fog. This often manifests as an attraction to charismatic teachers, enlightened masters, or radical new philosophies. The danger here is Neptune's classic trait of idealization. You may see a teacher or a system of thought through rose-colored glasses, ignoring red flags in your pursuit of a spiritual home. Many people under this transit experience a cycle of enchantment followed by profound disillusionment. The lesson of Neptune in the ninth is to realize that the truth you are seeking is not held by another person, it is a frequency you must learn to tune into yourself. Pilgrimages and wandering. The ninth house governs long-distance travel, and Neptune's transit often sparks a desire for the great escape. However, this isn't your standard vacation. You may feel called to visit power spots, monasteries, or remote landscapes that offer a sense of the infinite. Travel during this time often takes on a surreal or dreamlike quality. You might find yourself drifting through foreign lands without a clear itinerary, led by synchronicity rather than a map. On a practical level, you must be careful. Neptune can also bring confusion, missed connections, or legal fog regarding visas and passports. The goal of travel now is not to see the world, but to see through it. Higher education, inspiration versus confusion. For those in academia or seeking higher degrees, this transit can be both a blessing and a curse. On the positive side, your ability to grasp abstract, metaphysical, and symbolic concepts is at an all-time high. You may produce work that is visionary and deeply inspired. On the negative side, the boring details of scholarship, logic, citations, and rigorous proof can feel incredibly taxing. There is a tendency to vibe with a subject rather than study it. If you are a student during this transit, you may find your major shifting toward the arts, philosophy, or social justice as you seek a career that feels so aligned rather than just job-aligned. Navigating the fog. The transit of Neptune through the 9th house is ultimately a call to develop your intuition. It asks you to move from knowing to believing. To navigate this period successfully, you must learn to sit with uncertainty. Avoid spiritual bypassing. Don't use your new spiritual insights to ignore practical responsibilities or emotional wounds. Stay grounded, engage in activities that connect you to your body, like gardening or hiking, so your mind doesn't drift too far into the clouds. Practice discernment, question your inspirations. If a new belief system asks you to give up your critical thinking, it's likely a Neptune illusion rather than a Neptune revelation. By the time Neptune leaves your 9th house, the old walls of your worldview will be gone. In their place, you will likely have a much larger, more compassionate, and more fluid understanding of your place in the universe. You won't just have beliefs anymore, you will have a quiet, unshakable faith in the mystery of life itself. Subscribe, like, and share.